Chapter 16. In Commandant Hask's office, the atmosphere is as cold and sterile as an operating room. It's a perfect reflection of the man in charge of the academy. A wave of apprehension washes over me. I spot Jack already seated, his body rigid and his face devoid of any emotion. This is a far cry from his usual laid-back demeanor. Confusion fills me. What is he doing here? I am dressed in my standard academy uniform, the rough fabric clinging to my body. I take a seat beside Jack. Commander Hask, even seated at his desk, dominates the room. He's a massive figure. I've only seen him from a distance, at assemblies or addressing us from a podium. Up close, his presence is even more imposing. The office is devoid of personal touches, just computers and sparse conventional furniture. The desk is a solid piece of metalwork, its surface plain and unadorned, except for the necessary computer equipment. It's large and imposing, much like Commander Hask himself. The metallic sheen gleams under the harsh lighting, contributing to the room's foreboding atmosphere. Every element, from the austere cabinet to the immaculate shelves, is crafted from the same cold gray metal. The Academy's symbol, painted large on the wall behind him, seems to watch us with its crimson eyes. A raven, wings outstretched in a menacing span, sits atop a shield, a stark symbol of dominance. Its piercing eyes seem to scrutinize every corner of the room, every thought that dares to stray. The shield itself, adorned with geometric patterns reminiscent of circuit boards, is a reminder of technology's grip on our society. Beneath this unsettling image, the inscription "Vigilance and Control" sprawls in imposing letters, like a warning etched in stone. It's a constant reminder of the Academy's unwavering commitment to surveillance and maintaining order, an order that seems to suffocate any hint of freedom. This powerful imagery overshadows almost everything else in the room, transforming the office into a shrine to power and discipline. A shiver runs down my spine. I am here, in the very heart of the beast. As I settle into a chair, trying to calm my racing heart, Commandant Hask's gravelly voice breaks the silence. "I've noticed that the two of you have been teaming up quite often," he starts. "It's not unusual for trainees to work together, but your partnership is unique." He pauses, his eyes flicking between Jack and me. "You're quite different in demeanor and competencies." His words hang in the air, a statement laced with unspoken questions. I steal a glance at Jack, trying to gauge his reaction, but his face remains unchanged. The tension in the room is palpable, a pressure that seems to squeeze the air from my lungs. I sit there. A rapid drumbeat echoes in my chest and my mind races with questions. What does Commander Hask want from us? Is this about the ID device or something else entirely? The uncertainty of it all is suffocating, and I struggle to maintain a composed exterior. The commander leans forward, his hands clasped on the desk. The metal surfaces around us seem to accentuate the gravity of his words. "Now, coming to the main topic," he begins, his voice resonating with a deep seriousness. "In the police exists an elite group known as the Strategic Response Unit, short SRU, comprised of 6 independent operatives. This unit specializes in strategic planning and response to critical situations on a global scale." He pauses, surveying us with a piercing gaze. "The SRU operates in the shadows, unseen by the media. These operatives resolve problematic situations to maintain world equilibrium. They work under the surface with significant autonomy. The high-risk nature of their missions is matched by substantial financial rewards." Sitting there, I feel a mix of intrigue and confusion wash over me. Why is Commander Hask divulging such confidential information to us? The SRU sounds like something out of a spy thriller, a group operating beyond the boundaries of conventional forces, dealing with crises in the darkness, away from the public eye. I glance at Jack, trying to gauge his reaction. Nothing. His face remains a mask. It's infuriating. Is there a flicker of recognition in his eyes? He doesn't seem the least bit surprised by this revelation. Me, on the other hand, I'm stunned. My own mind races with questions. Why are we, among all the recruits, being briefed about this clandestine unit? The unusual nature of the situation is not lost on me. I shift uncomfortably in the metal chair, the cold surface a stark reminder of the reality of our situation. Commander Hask sits in his chair, his hands now unclasped and resting on the arms, trying to project a more casual image. Not working. When one of the 6 Strategic Response Unit agents leaves the group, there's a competition between the police and military departments to fill the vacancy, he explains. Each department, including this academy, puts forward their most qualified candidate. As he speaks, a question whirls in my mind, one I dare not voice aloud. What does it mean for an agent to leave the SRU? Are they retiring, or do they meet a more sinister end? The nature of such a secretive unit suggests that retirement might not be the main way out. Hask continues, unaware of the thoughts racing through my head. I've reviewed the regulations for filling this position. Interestingly, there's no stipulation that it must be filled by a single individual. He comes to a stop, the pause extending into what feels like an eternity. So my proposal is to send both of you as a team to compete for the position. His words hit me like a bolt of lightning. The idea of Jack and me functioning as a unit in a competition for a place in the SRU is ludicrous. I feel a mix of shock and disbelief wash over me. I glance at Jack, expecting to see a similar reaction, but his expression is resigned. His eyes are narrowed, a grin set to his jaw, yet he doesn't seem as taken aback as I am. This revelation seems to fit into some narrative he already understands, which only adds to my confusion. As I sit across from Commander Hask, his proposition echoes in my head, creating a storm of confusion. I fidget with my hands, unable to find a resting place for them as I shift uneasily in my chair. I can't stay silent anymore. Why us? I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. The thought of Jack and me, mere police aides, competing for a position in an elite unit seems surreal. We're not full-fledged officers, isn't this unusual? Commander Hask, unflinching, meets my gaze. Unusual, perhaps, but not unprecedented, he responds, his tone steady. The SRU needs individuals with unique skills, not just rank. It's a question of analysis, adaptability, and tenacity. You have both demonstrated these qualities. His words do little to quell the turmoil inside me. But an elite unit, I start, trying to articulate the mismatch I feel. It seems like we're out of our league. We're trained as aides, not for something as intense as the SRU. Hask leans back, considering my words. I understand your reservations, Voss, but the SRU operates beyond conventional roles. It's about thinking outside the box, which you and Calderon excel at. I muster every ounce of respect and composure I possess, looking directly at Commander Hask. With all due respect, Commander, why us? I ask. There are far more qualified recruits in the academy, those aspiring to be police officers. I'm a scientist, and Jack, he's not an agent. Commander Hask sighs, a deep, contemplative sound that fills the room. He takes a moment before speaking up. You really nailed the infiltration task, he says, a hint of pride in his voice. No one else in the group managed to find that hidden facility. His words stir a mix of pride and unease within me. The memory of the test resurfaces, vivid and raw, the confrontation with Drake and Terran etched into my mind. Hask continues, It's unfortunate you were attacked before you could infiltrate the facility. That would have been interesting to observe, but you displayed remarkable composure during that altercation. My mind drifts inevitably to the darkest moment of the test, the instant Jack snapped Terran's neck. The sickening crack still echoes in my ears. I realize then that this violence, this ability to kill without hesitation, is likely another quality Hask values, even if he doesn't say it outright. A cold shiver runs down my spine. As Commander Hask recounts our performance, my mind is involuntarily drawn to a darker moment of the test. The harrowing instant when Jack snapped Terran's neck. This sound that haunts me, a cold shiver trickles down my spine, the memory casting a stark, brutal shadow over me. He continues, a predatory grin stretching his lips, and during your final test, I watched the two of you take down 3 experienced agents, those guys in black. It was impressive. And to top it off, you even found the hidden object in the woods. A childlike gleam shines in his eyes, as if he were unwrapping a birthday present. He leans forward, his tone tinged with an almost perverse glee. Damn it, you weren't supposed to find that object. Those 3 agents were there to make sure it remained inaccessible. Hask's gaze sweeps over us, his playful expression replaced with a renewed seriousness. Together, you have the qualities of the ideal agent I've been searching for. It seems impossible to find all these capacities in one person. So, I want the 2 of you as a team. A wave of annoyance washes over me. I try to keep my face neutral, but inside I'm seething. This whole situation feels like a game to him, a spectacle for his amusement. Does he have any idea what we went through? The fear, the uncertainty, the violence? I clench my jaw, fighting the urge to lash out. This isn't a game, it's our lives. I try to articulate myself to Commander Hask, my voice firm despite the uncertainty swirling within me. Sir, I'm a scientist. My goal is to work in a lab to develop medicine, create new plant strains, design machines. I'm not cut out for field work as an agent. Hask listens, his expression unreadable. I understand your concerns, Voss, he begins, eyes softening. But consider this, the SRU role is lucrative and not as time-consuming as you might think. Missions typically span just 3 to 4 days a month. The rest of the time you're free to pursue your normal life, and the financial rewards are substantial for such assignments. He pauses, letting the information sink in. If you wish to work as a scientist, that's perfectly fine. In fact, I can arrange for you to work at Levy's lab. The pay you'd receive for a few days' work with the SRU would be 10 times what you'd make in a month as a scientist. His tone holds a hint of irony as he adds, but of course, you're free to focus on just being a scientist. His words leave me speechless, stunned. Salaries like that are insane, and the opportunity to work at Levy Laboratories, the temple of science, my holy grail. I'm overwhelmed, unable to utter a word. Reason tells me to refuse, but a small voice, a spark of madness perhaps, compels me to reconsider. The prospect of balancing a career in science with the adventurous, albeit risky, role in the SRU presents a path I had never considered. I've definitely lost my mind. I glance at Jack, wondering if he's as taken aback by Hask's offer as I'm. Commander Hask leans back, his demeanor shifting slightly. Well, let's be realistic, he says, a hint of resignation in his voice. No one from the Academy has ever secured a position in the SRU. The military and secret services usually field more experienced candidates, but this new team configuration might just be the edge we need. I turn to Jack, who has been silent throughout the conversation. His face is a mask of contemplation, giving nothing away. I don't know, I stammer, still reeling from the shock of the proposition. This is all so unexpected. Hask nods, directing his gaze at me. Take a day to think it over. He advises with a hint of empathy in his otherwise stern voice. Then, turning to Jack, his expression hardens. And Calderon, I'm sure you understand what's best for you, he says, a weighty implication hanging in his words. With that, we are dismissed. Jack and I rise from our chairs and exit Hask's office. The corridor stretches out before us, leading back to a reality that suddenly feels different. I steal a glance at Jack and see a storm brewing in his eyes. His usual confidence seems replaced by deep contemplation, and it's clear that Hask's offer has rattled him too. In the dim light of the hallway, his usual confident aura is overshadowed by a cloud of deep contemplation. The Jack I know, the one who faces everything with a nonchalant smirk, seems distant now, replaced by someone who is wrestling with the magnitude of what's been laid before us. The atmosphere is thick with tension as Jack and I make our way down the dimly lit hallway. Long shadows stretch across the walls under the spotlights, and the silence between us feels heavy with unspoken words. Unable to hold back any longer, I turn to Jack, my gaze focused. What did Hask mean by, "Sure you know what's good for you"? I ask, my voice a mix of worry and determination. Jack's initial reluctance to answer hangs in the air, adding to the tension. Finally, he relents. He talked to me before. It's about taking out Terran, he says. The words matter-of-fact, almost emotionless, but his eyes betray a hint of turmoil, a storm of unspoken feelings and fears. I'm off the hook for that if I agree to represent the Academy in the SRU competition, he explains, and get the job, his voice carrying a tone of resignation mixed with a hint of bitterness. Otherwise, I'll face a trial and likely jail. Given my history, they won't be lenient. The gravity of his words hangs in the space, underscoring the severity of the ultimatum he faces. His confession strikes me like a physical blow, the implications of it sending a wave of shock through my body. Jack's usually unreadable face reveals a hint of resignation, a sense of being trapped by circumstances beyond his control. Before I can process this fully or respond, he turns away, heading towards the staircase that leads to the upper floors. I'll swing by your room after dinner. We're still going out tonight, he calls over his shoulder, his voice devoid of its usual lightness. I just need to clear my head. Left alone in the hallway, I stand frozen, the weight of his words sinking in. The realization dawns on me slowly but with undeniable clarity. Jack is cornered, with no real choice but to accept Hask's offer. My mind races with questions about what this means for me, for us. Can Jack go through with this without me if I choose not to participate? As I head towards my room, a sense of irony washes over me. The idea that I, a scientist more at home among test tubes and data, would be vying for a spot in the URS? It's absurd. I'm anything but a warrior, a fighter. They excel in the field with bulging muscles and honed reflexes. My weapon is my brain, my knowledge. Embarking on this adventure is less a plan and more like jumping headfirst into a lion's den. Amidst the turmoil in my mind, a spark of hope ignites. I reflect on the financial burdens my family has recently faced, a constant weight on my shoulders. The thought of my parents being forced from our beloved home into a cramped apartment was a nightmare edging closer to reality. But now, this unexpected opportunity, this financial lifeline from my auxiliary police salary, fills me with a renewed sense of hope. I can finally provide them with some relief, shield them from the uncertainty that lies ahead. They won't have to give up everything, sacrifice their comfort and security. A small smile graces my lips, a flicker of joy in the midst of chaos. Excited to share the news, I start a video call with my parents. Their faces pop up on the screen, instantly lifting my spirits. Guess what? I got accepted into the police force aid, I announce, a wide grin spreading across my face. Their reactions are immediate and filled with pride. Eva, that's wonderful, my mom says, her eyes shining with happiness. My dad's nod of approval and warm smile convey his pride more than words ever could. Then their expressions shift to concern as they notice my lip. What happened there, Eva? My mom, pointing to her lip, asks, her brows knitting together in worry. It's nothing, I assure them quickly, not wanting to add to their worries. I swiftly move the conversation forward. The best part is, I can start contributing financially. You don't have to move out of the house. I can help. Relief washes over their faces, a weight lifting off their shoulders. My mom's eyes well up with tears, not of sadness but of gratitude. Oh, Eva, this is such a relief. We were so worried about having to move. My dad, usually a man of few words, adds, we are incredibly proud of you, not just for your work but also for your willingness to take so many risks and push yourself beyond limits, just to help us. The warmth emanating from their voices washes over me, a tidal wave of unconditional love. This job, while not my dream, means I can provide for my family, keep us in our home, a place filled with memories and love. As my parents continue speaking, their faces on the screen shift into expressions of concern, mirroring the gravity of their words. The upcoming year will be tough, my dad says, the lines on his forehead deepening. He hesitates for a moment, clearly troubled, before adding, my simulations project that inflation could potentially reach 20%. It's because of the Consortium's tactics, Mom explains. They're flooding the stock market with money to keep it afloat. It benefits the elite, those with investments in the stock exchange. But for people like us with modest savings, it's going to make things difficult. And it's only going to get worse. I lean in, absorbing their words. The screen between us feels like a window into the struggles they're facing, a stark reminder of the harsh realities of the world. They both focus back on me, their expressions softening. Eva, dear, think about your own future, my mom says gently, her eyes conveying a mix of concern and hope. Learn from our mistakes. The world is changing, and with the world and politics changing so rapidly, it's important to stay informed. My dad nods in agreement, his voice firm yet caring. We never gave much thought to politics, but it's different for you. It's important to stay aware, to understand the forces that shape our world. Disinformation is a cage that traps your mind. Don't allow yourself to be imprisoned by its lies. I'm eager to ask them about their work, to delve into the specifics of how they've progressed in decontaminating waters and the extent of their advancements. Was it against the interests of the Consortium? Was that the reason they were pushed into early retirement? These questions nag at me. Yet, I can't bring myself to voice the questions that swirl in my mind. Jack's warnings echo in my ears. They are watching and hearing, always. His words cast a shadow over my curiosity, reminding me of the ever-present eyes and ears that could be lurking anywhere, listening to every word. Reluctantly, I hold back, keeping these thoughts tightly sealed within myself. Another time, another place. As our call nears its end, they both lean closer to the screen, as if trying to bridge the physical distance between us. "We miss you so much," they say in unison, their voices thick with emotion. "We love you, darling." Hanging up the call, I sit back, letting their words and expressions replay in my mind. The concern etched on their faces and the earnestness in their voices resonate with me, sparking a newfound determination to not only secure our immediate future, but to understand the larger forces at play in our world. Sitting alone in my room, the harsh light reflecting off the bare walls, I replay Commandant Hask's words in my mind. The Strategic Response Unit, this mysterious shadow, suddenly takes on a new dimension. What if it were an opportunity, a chance to infiltrate the heart of the Consortium, to unearth its most closely guarded secrets, the ones that few ears are privileged to hear? The warnings of my parents, their fear of the disinformation that gnaws at our society, intertwine with this growing intrigue, a complex web that I must unravel thread by thread. I begin to strategize, evaluating my options and the potential outcomes. Joining the SRU wouldn't be about the immediate financial relief. It will be a crucial move in understanding the larger game at play, the intricate and often hidden world of politics within the Consortium. My parents' advice rings true. During the video call, I encountered a narrative markedly different from what I'm used to hear from them. They're right. The Consortium wields enormous power, and my understanding of their political machinations is limited, shaped mostly by the propaganda that's broadcasted daily. If I were part of the SRU, operating in the shadows of the Consortium's world, I could gain valuable insights into how the political organization truly operates. It would be an opportunity to see beyond the facade, to understand the real forces that dictate the course of our lives. The room around me feels more confining than ever, a physical representation of my limited perspective. But the proposition to join, daunting as it is, presents a chance to break free from these confines, to gain knowledge and power in a world where both are tightly controlled. As I contemplate, the decision becomes clearer. It's a strategic move for a better understanding and a more secure future, not just for me but for my family. In this game of survival and power, perhaps the SRU is the unexpected ally I need to navigate the complexities of our world.
Unveiling is nearing its end, but the journey is far from over. At the end of March 2025, the adventure continues with Immersion, the Consortium's World T2, available on Amazon.com. Are you ready to go undercover and dive into the system?